Hi, Alan Schimmel, DevOps.com here live at Jenkins World. Day one, keynotes are going on right now, but I was able to grab someone from the floor here who I'd wanted to speak to, and that's Brian Mericle of
Choice
Choice Hotels. Brian, did I
Yes.
mess your name up too bad?
No, it's perfect. Thank you.
Okay. Brian, thanks for joining us here at DevOps.com, and welcome to Jenkins World.
Thanks. Great to be here.
So, Brian, I know Choice Hotels is a Jenkins CloudBees user, correct?
Yes.
Have you been to Jenkins World before?
I have not.
So this is your first
this is my
Jenkins World.
First Jenkins World.
Early impressions? I know a lot hasn't gone on yet.
Yeah, I think it looks great. I think the amount of vendors are looking really well. I like the fact that you sort of play off the CloudBees and the open source Jenkins. There's definitely have a synergy.
Yes.
So I like that a lot.
And Brian, you and I are actually on a panel tomorrow, the experts panel, and we're going to be talking about how to avoid paying the idiot tax in your continuous delivery DevOps journey. And you're one of the panel members. Do you want to give our audience maybe a little bit of a preview?
I didn't know I was on that panel.
Oh, okay. I thought you were on that panel.
I never heard of that panel, but I have some experiences I could talk about. But
well, let's talk about it then.
Okay. So I think often when you have a software development team, you always run into common problems, and someone's always solved that problem before. And
Okay.
the trap you get into is you think your problem is slightly more special than the last
Everyone's
person's.
problem is special.
Right, and so that's a trap that people get into a lot. And so what's good about knowing what has come before is you can learn from people's mistakes they've already made. So why go through that effort again? And so we constantly are battled with this issue of, well, my problem's special. I'm going to do it my way, and no one seems to look for other solutions. And so I'm a type of person where I don't want to redo things. I don't want to reinvent the wheel. And so there's always a solution. You're rarely the first person to come across a problem. And so when you have a problem, research it and find a tool that best fits your team and your culture.
So, Brian, that's an excellent point, and that brings up a pattern. We spend a lot of time talking to DevOps teams here at DevOps.com. And what you described fits a little bit of a pattern that we see in that initially, especially an organization the size of Choice Hotel, you will have multiple teams doing DevOps type of things, CI, CD, and so forth. And each team is special, and each team kind of does things with their own little, they set the dials to their own numbers. But at some level, to really scale and standardize, those separate teams have to come together, if you will, and there has to be a kind of central control point. I don't want to use the word control, but a codified best practices, if you will.
You need a common framework. You
Yes.
need a place where everyone doesn't have to have their special job that does the same exact thing.
Right.
And we want a pattern. We want to follow patterns, and we want to ensure that our standard development platform is being sort of followed. So at Choice, we I want to say probably like 6 years, up to 6 years ago, we started converging a lot of our sort of build tools and strategies. And we sort of solidified on a set of tools that we want everyone to use. And realizing that it's not necessarily the best tool for the job, but it's the one that everyone is familiar with and comfortable with and easily maintained. And so one of the things that we started with was we started with Hudson back when it was
Before
Hudson.
Jenkins.
So as soon as Jenkins came out, I think there was a big hubbub about open source versus Oracle now owns Hudson, and so we stuck with Jenkins. And so from that beginning, Jenkins is so flexible that you easily fall into the pit of everyone has their own special job that does the same thing.
Got it.
And once you find that, you can actually start to codify. You can start to create these Jenkins jobs that basically anybody could use, and if you can extract out what makes everything sort of special into a configuration, and then you basically everyone can use the same job. And so that's where we're sort of converging on right now. We still have open source Jenkins and CloudBees, but they sort of fit two different purposes.
Mhm.
And we are moving more towards a place where we move more towards like a deployment pipeline with CloudBees. And that those are all of our jobs are done with the Jenkins DSL. And so then there's the code version, the version and source control.
Mhm.
They are pull requests reviewed, so code reviewed, so everyone understands what's happening in that process. And with that, everyone can utilize the same job to do the same set of activities they need to do.
Fantastic. So, Brian, one of the announcements that have been made here today at Jenkins Roiled is the DevOps Express group, consortium, whatever you want to call it. And really, they talking about something you mentioned on, which was, when we look across customers, we look across multiple organizations like a Choice and others, there is sort of a common set of tools that people are solidifying around in terms of their DevOps, experiences. CloudBees and Jenkins is certainly one or two that you mentioned. What other tools?
So with our QA department, we use a number of suites. So we use Selenium for
Sure.
our UI testing. We use JMeter for our load capacity testing. We use SOAP UI for to test application services. And all of that stuff is built into our new pipeline.
Okay.
And so basically, what's nice about that is everyone has a standard way to produce the artifacts that they need to run their tests, and the pipeline just takes care of it for them. And it's one of those things where it's easy to have a QA person configure one job one way and the other do something completely different. There's a lack of communication sometimes, and so when you have that, it's challenging to do the same thing, to do the right thing.
Yeah.
And with what we're finding is, as we develop this pipeline, we are getting that out of the way. It's like you don't have to worry about it anymore. What do you have to produce? The thing the QA knows about: SOAP UI test, a JMeter test, Selenium tests. Those can now just be executed without having any knowledge about how it's being done, and that just makes everything a lot simpler.
Excellent, excellent. Brian, I just wanted to ask you one other question, because our time's almost up. You are speaking. I apologize. I thought you were on my panel with me, but you are speaking here at Jenkins Roiled this year, correct?
No.
No.
I missed the opportunity. I completely forgot about the conference, and as I found out, as I sort of came back to my peripheral, I did reach out. Wasn't able to get a spot. It was too late.
Well, I'd like to. We do a road show of this event called CD Summit Jenkins Days, coming to a city near you, and maybe we can have you appear then, because you have a lot to say about it.
Absolutely.
You obviously have a deep knowledge of it.
I would love to. That'd be great.
We'll be in touch on that one.
Perfect.
So, Brian Mericle, Choice Hotels, thanks for being our first guest today
No problem.
at Jenkins Roiled. This is Alan Schimmel for DevOps.com.